welcome back to our channel, We're the Movie Couple. I'm Wendy.
I'm Dustin.
And in this video, we're going to be reviewing Waking Sleeping Beauty. Directed by Don Hahn, Waking Sleeping Beauty is a documentary on the Disney Renaissance, a prolific, successful decade lasting from 1984 to 1994. Now, before we get started, I know this documentary has been out for a while. It's just that we have finally gotten into it, and we actually liked it so much that we decided that we want to talk about it even more. So, the Disney Renaissance, it's, I think, for people in our age bracket, without saying our age, really, like, it's our childhood.
Yeah,
we grew up with these films.
When you think Disney films, you think about Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin. Those are the and Lion King. Those are the ones that just pop into your mind. Those when you first say Disney films. So it was very interesting to find all the backstory and all the drama and all the things that happened, how it didn't happen. It was always I kind of needed my Disney fix. Yeah. And it really did help supply it.
It really did, because we are watching Disney Plus all the time, and we finally, said, we actually have never watched this documentary before, and it's been recommended time and time and again, and I'm so glad we did, because a lot of people, we didn't really know how bad it was right before The Little Mermaid, right before that success, how much the animation team was basically looked at as almost like the redheaded stepchild, for lack of a better term, because they were kind of getting into live action. Some of the movies that they had created was not getting any return. When we can talk about the Black Cauldron, for example.
That's when they hit rock bottom with Black Cauldron. And it's sad because even though, it's definitely not your stereotypical Disney film, it was still something that could have been pulled off. I think it could have been done very well because it's such an interesting material. But since all of the dynamics that were going on in the studio at the time, it flopped.
There was a bit of egos. There was a bit of multiple directions. Then they had, Michael Eisner and Frank Wells had just stepped up. So there was a lot of transition, which and a lot of people weren't being talked to about, hey, what's going to change here? What do you want us to work on? And so there was a lot of just confusion, and it shows how important communication plays in part in a company as large as Disney. So after the Black Cauldron, which, when they saw, you and I both loved the Black Cauldron. Yeah. But, we were too young for it at that time.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely didn't see it then.
Oh, we saw it. I remember going to the theaters.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it for years. And my parents were even,
as we were coming out, they were like, that was scary. I mean, the Horned King and the way he dies and his body explodes. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Even when I'm watching it. But it was still I still love that movie. It's kind of part of the Disney, ambiance. It's still there. Kind of, the redheaded stepchild.
But I love how no matter what, there were certain people at Disney that did not give up on the animated films, and it showed also how hard a lot of these, once things started to change up, they moved them out of the building and over into Glendale in this little bungalow warehouse that just looked terrible for animators to work in. And once they started to bring in various other personnel to kind of lead this team and kind of be speaking for them, things started to turn around a little bit, with especially The Little Mermaid. And I think one of the things for me, because The Little Mermaid, that's the point where I fell in love with Disney. As a child, I always knew about Disney, but for me it was okay, I like Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, I liked them, but I didn't love them. I knew of them. And of course Mickey Mouse, the iconic, basically Disney's logo, essentially. But when I remember seeing The Little Mermaid, and I went, wow, what is that? And to kind of see it play out in the documentary was really fantastic, especially when they hired Howard and Alan Menken on to do the music. That was really the turning point for me, because they hired a theater person. I started off as a dancer and in musical theater, so it resonated with me when he was pitching these songs about under the sea and a part of your world, and I was like, oh, hire theater people to do things because they have this whole picture in their head, and when they present a song, they're not just thinking this is a song and this is the emotion, which is great, but they give you the reason why it propels the story forward, why the audience is going to cheer for this person, for your princess or for your prince, for your lead character. And from there, the animations can also have that picture in their head, and they can work to build, and everything blossoms. And I think that was a really important point to why these stories were so different and successful, is that we were watching Aladdin today.
Yeah.
And I kept on asking Dustin to pause, and I was like, look at this scene. Look at this short 2-second scene, and how many things are happening. And and that really comes from the brain of like, you know, a theater person collaborating with other creative people, animators, writers, songwriters, composers, to give us these like awesome Disney properties. So I really loved seeing that come through. That was probably my favorite part of the documentary.
Yeah, I mean, and also for me, because I've been with Disney, you know, exposed to Disney since day one, pretty much. So, you know, going to see Black Cauldron, I even went to go see The Great Mouse Detective and Oliver and Company. I loved Oliver and Company, and that's when Disney just started to go up, and then they hit with Little Mermaid, and then that's where the Renaissance started, and then right after that, you know, they hit it with Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast is an absolutely gorgeous film. It was nominated for Academy Awards. It's won a couple of Academy Awards, and it
I think it was
utilized
nominated for 7, and it won
6. I think I want to say 6 or 7, and it won 2.
I know it was nominated for 7.
And then they also used CAPS, the new computer system, to... well, they actually did that in Rescuers Down Under.
Yes.
That's where they first started, and that's how they brought in Pixar. So it's really interesting to see all these little bits and pieces that come together, and then you kind of compare it to what we know Disney now. And you brought up a great point where the Renaissance, it was, yes, they had a little bit of computer animation. You could really see it in the ballroom scene with Beauty and the Beast. For Aladdin, it was the carpet coming out of as trying to escape the Cave of Wonders, and the Cave of Wonders face, like the head, and maybe a little bit of a whole new world. I'm actually not really too sure on that.
Yeah.
But you know, that's when technology started to play a little bit of part into it. So you're mixing that with hand drawn animation, and you were saying that look at it now. We have. I don't know. Do they still use hand drawn? I think the last one was
I think they still do.
Princess and the Frog.
I think they still do in some things, but most of it now. I mean, if all you have to do is draw the character once, and then you can start manipulating it in the computer.
Faster.
I mean, it's faster. You're pretty much doing the exact same thing, so it makes sense for them to move into that technology. And it was funny to learn about how they were. Like, okay, we've just spent $10 million on all of these computers. Make it work. Is it going to work? Is it going? And how they just were constantly on these artists to be like, get this thing to work.
Yeah. Another thing that we don't see, you know, as the consumers and as the lover of these films, some of the behind the scenes stuff, which I so appreciate, because I always feel a little bit animators are so overlooked.
Yes.
You know, because they're not in front of the camera, and they're not like a part of the press stuff. So, and people, or like they're not like the voice talent, right? Because so people don't think of it as like they should be the top rung. Without them, these characters wouldn't have been created in the first place.
What is it? It wasn't really until Lion King where the animators started to get publicity.
Yes.
To where this guy's the animator of this person, of this character, and they were actually bringing on the animators to be a part of like the news press and to be in front of the cameras talking about their experience, especially when they had footage of them drawing the lions. Yeah. And they brought in all the wild animals. Everyone wanted to hear about that process.
I feel like I actually remember seeing that footage like on TV when I was little, right before The Lion King came out, and I remember when The Lion King finally came out. And it was funny, so I'm going to sidebar really quick about The Lion King. I think it was Jeff, the person I was like in charge of the animation department. They had 2 movies that they were working on simultaneously. It was Pocahontas, and it was The Lion King. And he said, "Oh, Lion King, no one's gonna watch that. Pocahontas, it's like the West Side Story." Of I was like, no, it's not. That's not historically accurate. He's like, oh no. He said it was the Romeo and Juliet.
That's
and
what
I was like,
it was. West Side Story meets Romeo and Juliet in the New World.
It's not like that. But it was just really funny how that really flipped, because while Pocahontas is a beautiful animated film, The Lion King is just, I would call it a masterpiece.
Yes,
I love
really
The Lion King.
Does set into that category of, if you're like separating all the Disney movies, this is for the masterpieces.
Yes.
And that's where you would put Lion King. That's where you put Beauty and the Beast.
The talent voices, the computer animation that they used for the stampede scene, all the animation, the coloring, and like the different variations of like the animals and the songs. It was just so, like, the combination of everything was just so fantastic. So much so that they remade it in live action.
I know, I like the live action thing.
The life realistic.
But it's always really cool to see the behind the scenes. And you do hear, we knew about Frank Wells' death. I mean, it was publicized all over the place. But to find out how exactly it affected everyone's attitude and why certain decisions were made because of this tragedy is really interesting. To get more into the mindset of all of these people that were involved and get their opinions and their thoughts on how it happened and what happened is always so interesting. And that's why I love documentaries like this.
Yeah, it really gives you that behind the curtain look. It's kind of like peeking behind at Oz. You're kind of like, who's the wizard? Except that it's like so much more bigger than just like a man with all the machines and stuff like that.
There's a couple people,
There's a
whole bunch of
lot.
different levers.
I think it's unbelievable that they grew from, they said like 200 some people to upwards of 500 animators by the end of the documentary, and how people thought they were going to lose their jobs because the animation building the animators were moved out of that building, and then they create a whole new building just for the animators, and then they moved them back in there.
And then they won some Oscars. So therefore, they were like, okay, now we'll give you back your old building, or we'll build you a brand new building.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. And I'm kind of like, that sucks that,
It took that to recognize it, for some people, and not to realize how hard they really grind every single day.
But Roy Disney, he was constantly there fighting for the animation department. He goes, no, this has always been the heart and soul of the Disney company, are these animated films.
Absolutely.
We will not give this up.
Yeah. And I still, honestly, we go back to the 4 films that we talked about, among some other ones too, like Hercules is a hand-drawn one, I think, for the most part. We really watch over and over. Hunchback of Notre Dame, I think, is like severely underrated.
Yeah.
What other ones? Treasure Island?
Treasure Planet. Well, there was Treasure Planet, yeah.
Treasure Planet is the one that I'm thinking of that like people rarely talk about.
But it's really good.
It's
a really good adaptation.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So if you're a lover of Disney films, animated, or all the way up to the current films, we highly suggest you go and watch Waking Sleeping Beauty. It gives you an incredible behind-the-scene look at every aspect of Disney during that time. Gives you a little bit of like the financial stuff, the corporate stuff, which I don't really like to hear about, but it was actually really interesting the way they presented it. Yeah,
about the takeover that a company tried to do, and then Roy Disney ends up like selling a share so they can't be bought out.
Yep.
And so it's always really cool to find out all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, you guys, there you have it, and that is our review and thoughts on Waking Sleeping Beauty. If you have seen the documentary, go ahead and comment your thoughts in the comment section below. And if there is another documentary that you would like us to check out, go ahead and comment that below, and we will do a review on it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.